Emperor Xenos of the Galactic Komar Empire stared at the holographic display, his tentacles twitching with disbelief. A human child's fleet design had just outperformed every other submission in the galaxy-wide contest. The aging Komar fleet, once the pride of 10,000 star systems, now creaked and groaned under the strain of maintaining galactic dominance. Rival alien factions circled like vultures, sensing weakness in the Empire's defenses. Xenos had initiated this contest as a last-ditch effort to revitalize their forces, offering control of an entire star system to the winner. In a moment of desperation, the Emperor had allowed primitive species to participate, including humans. It was a decision that would change the course of galactic history. On Earth, 12-year-old Henry Murphy sat hunched over his computer, fingers flying across the keyboard as he put the finishing touches on his revolutionary design. The global announcement of the contest had sparked something in the young prodigy's mind, a vision of ships that could adapt and evolve mid-battle. Henry's parents slept soundly, unaware that their son was about to become the center of an interstellar political storm. The U.S. government, however, was wide awake. Intelligence agencies had intercepted Henry's submission and recognized its potential to catapult humanity onto the galactic stage. As dawn broke over the Murphy household, a team of government agents arrived to whisk Henry away to a secure facility. His parents, jolted from sleep, found themselves thrust into a world of classified briefings and diplomatic negotiations. Meanwhile, in the vast halls of the Komar Imperial Palace, heated debates raged among the Empire's top scientists and strategists. Henry's designs challenged centuries of established doctrine. His modular ships with adaptable configurations promised unprecedented tactical flexibility. The unique energy distribution system he proposed could revolutionize space combat. Emperor Xenos leaned forward, his compound eyes focusing intently on the holographic representation of Henry's fleet. "How?" he demanded. "How could a child from a backwater planet conceive of this?" The answer, of course, lay in Henry's unique perspective. Unburdened by conventional thinking, he had combined Komar technology with human ingenuity in ways the Empire's engineers had never considered. As news of the human child's potential to reshape galactic warfare spread, rival alien factions mobilized. Cloaked ships slipped into Earth's orbit, their crews tasked with sabotaging or stealing Henry's work. The U.S. government, now fully aware of the strategic importance of the young prodigy's designs, scrambled to protect him. In a secure bunker deep beneath the Nevada desert, Henry continued to refine his designs. He worked alongside a team of human and Komar engineers, his young mind bridging the gap between two vastly different technological paradigms. The implications of Henry's work extended far beyond military applications. His designs held the potential to revolutionize space travel, energy production, and even the fundamental structure of galactic society. The child prodigy from Earth had unknowingly lit the fuse on a powder keg of change. As the contest deadline loomed, tensions reached a fever pitch. The Komar Empire teetered on the brink of transformation, while humanity stood poised to claim its place among the stars. And at the center of it all was Henry Murphy, a 12-year-old boy whose imagination had captured the attention of an entire galaxy. The stage was set for a showdown that would determine the fate of not just the Komar Empire, but the future of interstellar relations. Henry's genius had opened the door, but the consequences of stepping through it remained to be seen. The news of Henry Murphy's revolutionary fleet design spread like wildfire through the galactic community. Emperor Xenos, his compound eyes fixed on the holographic display of Henry's work, made a decision that would alter the course of the Komar Empire. "General Zarek," the Emperor's voice resonated through the cavernous throne room, "you will lead a delegation to Earth. Bring our finest scientists and engineers. We must see this human child's potential for ourselves." Within days, a Komar ship entered Earth's orbit, its sleek design a stark contrast to humanity's rudimentary space technology. As it descended towards Henry's hometown, local residents gaped at the otherworldly vessel, its hull shimmering with an iridescent glow. President James Carter stood on the tarmac, flanked by a team of advisors and security personnel. The ship's ramp extended, and General Zarek emerged, his tentacles swaying gently in the Earth's unfamiliar gravity. "Welcome to Earth," President Carter said, extending his hand in greeting. General Zarek studied the gesture briefly before mimicking it with one of his tentacles. On behalf of Emperor Xenos and the Komar Empire, we thank you for your hospitality. As the two leaders engaged in diplomatic pleasantries, a flurry of activity erupted around them. U.S. military personnel and Komar technicians worked side by side, setting up a temporary base of operations nearby. Meanwhile, Henry Murphy found himself whisked away to a secure facility deep in the heart of the Nevada desert. The young prodigy's eyes widened as he took in the vast array of advanced technology surrounding him. "Welcome to Project Nexus, Henry," Dr. Michael Stern said, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "This is where we'll be working together to bring your designs to life." Henry nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "When can we start?" Dr. Stern chuckled. "Right now, if you're ready." The facility quickly became a hive of activity. Human and Komar scientists huddled around workstations, their excited chatter filling the air. Holographic displays flickered to life, showcasing various aspects of Henry's modular ship designs. As the days passed, the true potential of Henry's work began to reveal itself. Komar engineers, initially skeptical of the human child's ideas, found themselves marveling at the elegance and adaptability of his designs. "It's not just about military applications," one Komar scientist exclaimed, his tentacles waving excitedly. "These modular systems could revolutionize our entire approach to space travel and energy distribution." Word of this revelation reached Emperor Xenos, who found himself reconsidering the Empire's approach to the contest. The potential for widespread societal change was too significant to ignore. However, not everyone viewed these developments with optimism. In the shadows of the digital realm, the Tellarites Collective launched a series of devastating cyber attacks on Project Nexus. Human and Komar cybersecurity experts scrambled to defend against the assault, their systems straining under the onslaught. Henry, observing the chaos from his workstation, had an idea. "Dr. Stern," he called out, his voice barely audible above the commotion, "what if we applied the modular design philosophy to our digital infrastructure?" Dr. Stern paused, considering the suggestion. "Go on, Henry." The boy's fingers flew across his keyboard as he explained, "We could create a system that adapts and reconfigures itself in response to attacks, just like the ships. It would be much harder to breach." The idea spread quickly through the facility, with both human and Komar experts working tirelessly to implement Henry's concept. Within hours, the cyber attacks began to lose their effectiveness, repelled by the newly adaptive defense system. As Project Nexus celebrated this victory, a new threat emerged from an unexpected quarter. Colonel Frank Hawkins, a decorated former military officer, led a group of human extremists in a covert operation to infiltrate the facility. "We can't let these aliens control our future," Hawkins growled to his team as they approached the perimeter. "We're taking back control of our planet." Their infiltration triggered an immediate lockdown, sealing Henry, Dr. Stern, and several Komar scientists in a laboratory deep within the facility. Alarms blared as security protocols engaged, cutting off power and communication to the sealed areas. In the darkness of the lab, Henry's mind raced. "We need to restore power and contact the outside," he said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. Dr. Stern nodded, barely visible in the emergency lighting. "But how? We're cut off from the main systems." Henry's eyes lit up as he surveyed the lab equipment around them. "We can build it," he said, a hint of excitement in his voice. "A small-scale prototype of the modular ship design. We have everything we need right here." The Komar scientists exchanged glances, their initial skepticism giving way to curiosity. Together, the unlikely team set to work, assembling components and adapting Henry's designs to their limited resources. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, guided by Henry's innovative thinking and the combined expertise of human and Komar science. Finally, a small, oddly shaped device hummed to life in the center of the lab. "It's not space-worthy," Henry explained, "but it should generate enough power to get us back online." As the prototype whirred into action, lights flickered on throughout the lab, computers rebooted, and communication systems crackled back to life. The team had done it. Outside the facility, the situation had reached a critical point. Colonel Hawkins and his team found themselves surrounded by a joint force of U.S. military and Comar security personnel. As tensions escalated, a voice crackled over the facility's communication system. "This is Henry Murphy," the young voice announced. "We've restored power and communications using a prototype based on the modular ship design. Everyone in the sealed lab is safe." The announcement sent shockwaves through both the human and Comar ranks. Colonel Hawkins, realizing the futility of his position, surrendered without further incident. As news of Henry's impromptu demonstration reached Emperor Xenos, the Comar leader made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. In a galaxy-wide broadcast, he announced, "The Comar Empire will adopt Henry Murphy's designs not just for our military, but as the foundation for a complete overhaul of our technology. We stand on the brink of a new era, one of unprecedented progress and cooperation." The announcement sent ripples through the galactic community. Species that had long viewed humanity as primitive now reassessed their stance, recognizing the potential that lay within this young race. On Earth, President Carter initiated talks with world leaders, pushing for a unified global space program based on Henry's designs. The promise of rapid advancement in space exploration capabilities sparked a new spirit of cooperation among nations. Back at Project Nexus, Henry found himself at the center of an expanding team of human and alien scientists. His unique ability to bridge different scientific approaches made him an invaluable asset. However, as the days stretched into weeks, the pressure of his newfound importance began to weigh heavily on the young prodigy. Dr. Stern noticed the strain in Henry's eyes during one of their late-night work sessions. "Henry," he said gently, "you've accomplished more in the past few weeks than most scientists do in a lifetime. But you're still a child. We need to make sure we're not asking too much of you." Henry nodded, grateful for the concern. "I want to keep working," he said, his voice a mix of grit and fatigue. "But maybe we could schedule some time for me to just be a kid." As Project Nexus continued to expand and evolve, this balance between Henry's extraordinary gifts and his need for a normal childhood became a key consideration. The fate of humanity's place among the stars hung in the balance, with Henry's innovative designs serving as the catalyst for unprecedented advancements. Yet as the young prodigy looked out at the stars from his laboratory window, he couldn't help but wonder what new challenges and discoveries lay ahead in the vast expanse of the galaxy. Universe. As Henry gazed at the stars, a sudden flash of light caught his attention. At first, he thought it might be a satellite or a distant comet, but the intensity grew rapidly. Alarms blared throughout the facility, and Dr. Stern burst into the room, his face pale with concern. "Henry, we need to move. Now," he said, urgency evident in his voice. Before Henry could respond, General Zarek's holographic form materialized in the center of the room. "The Tellarites Collective has launched a full-scale invasion of the solar system," the Comar officer reported, his tentacles writhing with agitation. "Their fleet is massive, unlike anything we've encountered before." Henry's mind raced as he processed the information. The Tellarites, known for their technological prowess and expansionist tendencies, had clearly viewed the human-Comar collaboration as a threat to their dominance. Now, they were making their move. Within hours, the secure facility transformed into a bustling command center. President Carter arrived via helicopter, accompanied by his top military advisors. Emperor Xenos himself made an unprecedented journey to Earth, recognizing the gravity of the situation. Henry found himself thrust into high-level strategic meetings, his expertise now crucial to humanity's survival. As he entered the main conference room, he couldn't help but feel a mixture of awe and trepidation at the sight of world leaders and alien dignitaries gathered around a holographic display of the solar system. President Carter nodded gravely as Henry took his seat. "Mr. Murphy, we need options. The Tellarites fleet will reach Earth's orbit in less than 72 hours. Henry studied the holographic representation of the approaching armada, his mind already formulating possibilities. "We don't have time to build a fleet from scratch," he said, his young voice steady despite the pressure. "But we might be able to use what we already have." He manipulated the hologram, highlighting Earth's existing satellites and space stations. "If we apply the principles of my modular ship designs, we could convert our orbital infrastructure into a defensive fleet. The room erupted into a flurry of discussion. General Zarek's tentacles waved excitedly as he grasped the implications. It's ambitious, but it could work. We'd need to coordinate on a global scale. President Carter leaned forward, his eyes fixed on Henry. How quickly can we implement this plan? With a global effort and Komar assistance, we might be ready just before the Tellarites arrive, Henry replied. But we'll need to start immediately. The president nodded, then turned to address the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our strategy. Let's make it happen. What followed was a whirlwind of activity unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Dr. Stern led a team of engineers in adapting Earth's space infrastructure for the modular design. Satellite dishes were repurposed into weapons arrays. Solar panels became shield generators, and communication relays were transformed into propulsion systems. Meanwhile, General Zarek worked tirelessly to integrate Komar technology into Earth's defensive systems. The result was a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien advancement that pushed the boundaries of what either species thought possible. As the modular fleet took shape in orbit, Henry focused on developing a new AI system to coordinate its movements. He named it ARIA, Adaptive Response Intelligence Algorithm. The AI's ability to rapidly reconfigure the fleet's formation in response to enemy tactics would be crucial in compensating for the limited combat experience of Earth's hastily trained space forces. The Tellarites' fleet entered the solar system just as Earth launched its first major counteroffensive. The modular Earth Komar fleet, guided by ARIA, engaged the invaders in a series of intense battles throughout the solar system. The adaptability of Henry's designs allowed the defenders to hold their ground against the technologically superior Tellarites' forces. From the command center on Earth, Henry watched the holographic representation of the battle unfold. The modular ships danced and weaved through space, their formations shifting constantly under ARIA's guidance. But as the conflict dragged on, he noticed a worrying trend. The power management systems are struggling during prolonged engagements, he muttered, his fingers flying across a control panel as he analyzed the data. Dr. Stern leaned in, studying the readings. You're right, the constant reconfiguration is draining their energy reserves faster than we anticipated. Henry's mind raced, considering possible solutions. We need a more efficient energy distribution system, he said, already sketching out ideas on a nearby tablet. As the young prodigy worked to address the fleet's power issues, a new threat emerged. A Tellarites infiltration team, recognizing Henry as the key to Earth's unexpected resistance, attempted to breach the secure facility housing him. Alarms blared as the infiltrators engaged in a fierce firefight with the joint human-Komar security team. Henry found himself rushed to a panic room deep within the facility, the sounds of battle echoing through the corridors. The attack was ultimately repelled, but the close call highlighted Henry's vulnerability. In its aftermath, Emperor Xenos made a controversial proposal. For his own safety and to continue his vital work, the boy should be relocated to the Komar capital world, the Emperor suggested during an emergency meeting. The suggestion created immediate tension. President Carter's face tightened as he responded. With all due respect, Emperor, we can't send our most valuable asset off-planet in the middle of an invasion. As the debate raged on, Henry focused on the task at hand. The ongoing space battles had revealed both strengths and weaknesses in his designs, and he worked tirelessly to address them. His latest innovation, a network of miniature wormholes within the modular ships, allowed for instantaneous energy transfer and communication, significantly improving the fleet's performance. Just as this new technology was implemented, the Tellarites unleashed their most devastating weapon yet, a massive energy-dampening field that threatened to disable Earth's entire defense system. In the command center, panic set in as reports flooded in of ships losing power across the fleet. Henry, however, remained calm, his mind already racing with possibilities. The wormhole network, he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. It can bypass the dampening field. We just need to reconfigure it to channel energy from outside the affected area. Dr. Stern's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. That could work, but it would require a massive amount of coordination. Henry nodded, turning to the holographic display. ARIA can handle it. We just need to give her the right instructions. As Henry and his team worked feverishly to implement the solution, the battle raged on. The Earth-Komar alliance fought desperately to hold the line, but the strain was evident. Several major cities had already suffered damage from Tellarites' attacks, and resources were stretched to the breaking point. Finally, after hours of intense work, the new system came online. Energy flowed through the wormhole network, bypassing the Tellarites' dampening field entirely. Across the solar system, disabled ships sprang back to life, their weapons and shields powered by energy sourced from beyond the field's reach. The tide of battle began to turn. The Earth-Komar fleet, reinvigorated and guided by Aria's adaptive strategies, pushed back against the Tellarites' invasion force. As news of Earth's resistance spread throughout the galaxy, other alien species took notice. Several previously neutral factions reached out, expressing interest in joining the alliance against the Tellarites. As the immediate threat of invasion began to recede, Henry found himself facing a new challenge. Earth's role in galactic affairs had expanded rapidly, and the pressure on the young genius to continue innovating was immense. The fate of multiple species now rested on his ingenuity and the successful implementation of his designs. Standing before a window in the command center, Henry watched as flashes of light in the night sky marked the ongoing battle. He knew that this was just the beginning. The Tellarites would regroup, adapt, and attack again. And when they did, he would need to be ready with new ideas, new designs, and new strategies. The young prodigy took a deep breath, his mind already racing with possibilities. The stars above seemed closer now, more attainable than ever before. But with that proximity came new dangers, new responsibilities, and challenges beyond anything he had ever imagined. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, but with it came a surge of willpower. Henry turned from the window, his mind already racing with new ideas. He approached the central holographic display, where President Carter, Emperor Xenos, and General Zarek were engaged in intense discussion. "Excuse me," Henry said, his young voice cutting through the conversation. "I think I have a solution that could end this conflict decisively." All eyes turned to the 14-year-old prodigy as he manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up a detailed schematic of a modular platform. "We've proven the effectiveness of our modular designs in space combat," Henry explained, his fingers deftly adjusting the hologram. "But what if we take it a step further? I propose creating a network of automated defense platforms based on these designs. They'd be capable of rapid deployment throughout the solar system and beyond." President Carter leaned forward, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Go on, son." Henry expanded the hologram, showing a solar system-wide grid of interconnected platforms. Each platform would be equipped with advanced sensors, weapon systems, and an Aria-powered AI. They could function autonomously or as part of a coordinated network, providing a flexible and adaptive defense system. Emperor Xenos' tentacles writhed with excitement. Fascinating. The strategic implications of such a system are considerable. General Zarek nodded in agreement. It would allow us to project power far beyond our current capabilities. But the logistical challenges of building and deploying such a network, that's where the modular design comes in, Henry interjected. We can mass-produce standardized components and assemble them in orbit. With proper coordination between Earth and Komar manufacturing facilities, we could have the first wave operational within months. President Carter exchanged a look with Emperor Xenos. After a moment of silent communication, the president turned back to Henry. "Very well, Mr. Murphy. You have our approval to proceed with, what shall we call it?" "Project Aegis," Henry said, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. The following weeks were a blur of activity. Henry found himself at the center of a whirlwind of meetings, design sessions, and prototype tests. He led a diverse team of human and Komar engineers, pushing the boundaries of what both species thought possible. As Project Aegis progressed, however, the Tellarites launched a desperate counteroffensive. Reports flooded in of a massive warship, dubbed the Decimator, cutting a swath through the outer defenses of the solar system. Henry was in the midst of a test deployment when the news reached him. He watched the holographic display with growing concern as the Decimator breached one defensive line after another. "We need to accelerate our timeline," he said, turning to Dr. Stern. "How soon can we deploy the first wave of platforms?" Dr. Stern ran a hand through his thinning hair. "We're not ready for full deployment. The AI integration is still—" "We don't have a choice," Henry interrupted, his voice firm. "That ship is carrying a planet-killer weapon. If it reaches Earth—" Understanding dawned on Dr. Stern's face. He nodded grimly and began issuing orders to the team. What followed was a frenzy of activity. Henry and his team worked around the clock, making last-minute adjustments and running rapid simulations. As the decimator drew ever closer to Earth, they prepared to launch an experimental version of the Aegis system. The deployment itself was a tense affair. Henry stood in the control room, his eyes fixed on the holographic display as the platforms were launched into space. He held his breath as they came online, praying that the rushed integration of the AI systems would hold. As the decimator entered range, the defense platforms sprang to life. They moved with a fluid grace, reconfiguring themselves to counter the Tellarites' flagship's attacks. Henry watched in awe as his creations danced through space, adapting to each new threat with inhuman speed. But the decimator lived up to its name. It shrugged off multiple attacks, its powerful shields absorbing tremendous punishment. As the battle raged on, Henry scrutinized every detail of the engagement, searching for a weakness. Then he saw it, a fluctuation in the decimator's shield harmonics during its main weapon's charging cycle. It was a small window, but it might be enough. "Area," Henry called out. "Focus all available firepower on coordinates Delta 7 when the enemy's primary weapon reaches 80% charge." The AI acknowledged the command, relaying it to the network of platforms. As the decimator's planet-killer weapon began to glow with ominous energy, the Aegis platforms moved into position. The next few moments seemed to stretch into eternity. Henry watched, heart pounding, as the decimator's weapon reached its critical point. Then, with perfect synchronization, the defense platforms struck. A dazzling array of energy beams converged on the specified point, penetrating the briefly weakened shields. The decimator's hull buckled under the assault, secondary explosions blossoming along its length. The massive ship listed in space, its weapon powering down as systems failed across its superstructure. A cheer went up in the control room as the Tellarites' flagship began to break apart. In the aftermath of the battle, Henry found himself thrust into the spotlight once again. The destruction of the decimator marked a turning point in the war, and Earth's position as a major galactic power was solidified overnight. As news of the victory spread, other alien species began to take notice. The Arcturian Confederation, a group of technologically advanced worlds, reached out with a proposal for a technology exchange program. Their ambassador, a towering being named Carax, specifically requested to work with Henry. Emperor Xenos, recognizing the strategic importance of this potential alliance, suggested establishing an intergalactic research center on Earth. "A facility to bring together the brightest minds from various species," he explained during a high-level meeting. "And who better to lead this initiative than the architect of our victory?" Henry felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation at the proposal. The idea of working with brilliant minds from across the galaxy was thrilling, but the responsibility was daunting. As plans for the research center moved forward, Henry threw himself into the work. He spent long hours refining the Aegis system, incorporating lessons learned from the battle with the decimator. It was during one of these late-night work sessions that Henry first noticed something odd, a discrepancy in the supply chain data, a pattern of minor accidents at key facilities, small things, but they nagged at him. He was compiling his observations when an urgent message came through. There had been a breach at one of the Comar manufacturing plants working on Project Aegis. As Henry read the report, a chill ran down his spine. This was no ordinary security incident. Someone was actively working to undermine the Earth-Comar alliance. And as Henry dug deeper, he began to uncover the outlines of a vast conspiracy that threatened everything they had fought for. The young genius sat back in his chair, his mind racing with the implications of what he had discovered. He knew that the challenges ahead would dwarf even the Tellarites' invasion. But as he looked out at the stars, now seeming closer than ever, Henry Murphy steeled himself for the battles to come. Come. The young genius knew that unraveling this conspiracy would require all of his intellect and resources. Henry spent the next few months delving deep into the web of deceit, carefully piecing together fragments of information. His investigation led him to a startling conclusion. A shadowy organization known as the Syndicate had been manipulating galactic events for centuries, profiting from conflict and chaos. As he presented his findings to President Carter and Emperor Xenos, Henry realized that technology alone wouldn't be enough to counter this threat. Drawing on his experiences over the past 3 years, he proposed a bold new initiative. "We need to create a galactic cooperative," Henry explained, his voice steady despite the enormity of his suggestion. "A federation of species united by shared technology and mutual defense." President Carter leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "That's a lofty goal, Henry. How do you propose we achieve it?" Henry manipulated the holographic display, bringing up a complex network of interconnected structures. "We use our modular technology to create a network of habitats and research stations throughout known space. These stations would serve as neutral ground for diplomacy, scientific collaboration, and cultural exchange." Emperor Xenos' tentacles rippled with interest. "An intriguing concept, but the logistical challenges are considerable," Henry admitted, "but not insurmountable. We've already proven what we can achieve when we work together." The proposal gained traction quickly. Many saw it as a way to prevent future conflicts and counter the Syndicate's influence. However, as Henry worked to refine the cooperative structure, he faced numerous challenges. During a tense meeting with representatives from various allied species, a Arcturian diplomat raised concerns about sovereignty. "How can we ensure that larger powers won't dominate the cooperative?" Henry nodded, acknowledging the concern. "We'll implement a rotating leadership structure and a system of checks and balances. No single species will have undue influence." As they debated the finer points of resource allocation and shared defense responsibilities, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. A frantic aide burst into the room. "The Syndicate," she gasped. "They've launched an attack, some kind of nanobot swarm. Our defenses are failing." Henry's mind raced. The Syndicate must have realized they were on the verge of being exposed. This was a desperate final offensive. He turned to the assembled representatives. "This is exactly why we need the cooperative. We must act now, together, or everything we've built will fall." Without waiting for a response, Henry rushed to the command center. The scene was chaos, with technicians frantically trying to counter the nanobot invasion. The microscopic machines were infiltrating their systems, disabling defenses and disrupting communications. Henry's eyes darted from screen to screen, his mind processing the information at lightning speed. Then an idea struck him. "We can't just defend," he muttered. "We need to turn their attack against them." His fingers flew over the controls as he began to code. Drawing on his experience with adaptive systems, Henry created a self-evolving firewall. It didn't just repel the nanobots, it reprogrammed them. "Upload this to all allied systems," Henry ordered, "and prepare to broadcast it on all frequencies." As the new program took effect, the tide of battle shifted dramatically. The reprogrammed nanobots turned on their creators, infiltrating Syndicate ships and systems. Within hours, the attackers were in full retreat, their own technology now working against them. In the aftermath of the battle, Henry stood before a joint session of Earth and Comar leadership. "The Syndicate is weakened but not defeated. We know the location of their hidden headquarters. Now is the time to strike." President Carter nodded grimly. "Agreed. We'll assemble a task force immediately." "No," Henry said, his voice firm. "Not just us. This is the moment to prove what the Galactic Cooperative can do." And so, ships from a dozen species gathered, forming the largest fleet ever assembled in known space. At its heart were vessels built using Henry's modular designs, allowing for unprecedented levels of coordination and adaptability. As they approached the Syndicate's massive space station at the edge of known space, Henry felt a mix of anticipation and dread. This battle would determine the future of the galaxy. The assault began with a dazzling display of coordinated firepower. Ships from different species, utilizing Henry's designs, moved in perfect synchronization. The Syndicate's defenses, formidable as they were, began to crumble under the onslaught. Henry led a small, elite team tasked with breaching the station's core. As they fought their way through winding corridors, he marveled at how smoothly the multi-species team worked together. This was the Galactic Cooperative in action. Finally, they reached the Central Command Center. The Syndicate's leadership, a group of beings from various species, looked up in shock as Henry and his team burst in. "It's over," Henry declared, his voice steady despite his racing heart. As his team secured the Syndicate leaders, Henry accessed the station's main computer. His eyes widened as he uncovered archives detailing centuries of manipulation and profiteering. This evidence would ensure that the full extent of the Syndicate's actions would be known across the galaxy. In the days that followed, construction began on the first Galactic Cooperative Station. Henry threw himself into the project, overseeing every aspect of its development. The massive structure, which they named Unity, combined elements of architecture and technology from all member species. As Unity neared completion, Henry received an unexpected message. It came from a previously unknown species at the edge of the galaxy, expressing interest in joining the cooperative. This first contact situation presented new challenges and opportunities for the young genius and the alliance he had helped forge. On the day of Unity Station's inauguration, representatives from over 100 species gathered to celebrate. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy, symbolizing a new era of cooperation and shared progress. Henry stood alongside President Carter, Emperor Xenos, and other key figures as he prepared to address the assembled dignitaries and the trillions watching across known space. He took a deep breath, acutely aware of how far they had come since his first fleet design 3 years ago. As he began to speak, Henry's words carried the weight of their shared experiences and the promise of a brighter future. The galaxy listened, united in a way that had once seemed impossible, ready to embark on the next chapter of their collective journey among the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.